Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we're going to make a delicious Amish potato salad. But first, I have a little story to tell you because it's kind of funny. I had tested a recipe for Amish potato salad, and it was so good, and I was so pleased with it. We were about to film the recipe, and the night before we were supposed to film it, I got a message, an instant message on Facebook, and somebody was asking me if I had tested a recipe or if I had a recipe for Amish potato salad. And I said, no, but that's so funny because I'm going to film one tomorrow. She's like, oh, that's great. How did you cook the dressing? I was like, what? And she said, yeah, Amish potato salad has a cooked dressing. I said, it does? And just like that, all those tests went out the window. So the next day, I went in, I looked on Google, and some do cook the dressing, some don't cook the dressing. But I decided to go ahead and revamp the recipe to be, I think, a more traditional Amish potato salad with a cooked dressing. So that's what we're going to start off doing in the Ninja Foodi 6.5 quart. We're going to cook this dressing. It's really easy to do. You just need to whisk constantly as you're cooking it, okay? Go ahead and get your whisk, and you can use either the stainless steel pot or you can use the nonstick pot. It's fine. Just if you're using a nonstick pot, make sure you don't use a metal whisk. You can use a nylon whisk or even a spatula like this. Just stir constantly and you'll be fine. All right, so we want to turn the Ninja Foodi on. We're going to go to the sear saute. We're going to go ahead and hit the high. That's what we want for right now. And the first thing I'm going to do is get in my milk, which is 1/4 cup of milk, and 1/2 teaspoon of cornstarch. And I'm going to mix these two together. So the cornstarch is going to actually thicken along with the egg and thicken this dressing. Now we do mix it with mayonnaise as well. So there is mayonnaise in this recipe. I don't have it out right now because I'll get it out right before we use it. So I'm gonna get this 1/2 teaspoon out. Probably better to use this, honestly. Such a small amount, I wanna make sure I get it all out so it thickens appropriately. All right, so I'm just gonna whisk this together. That's just to get the clumps out. I added it once without doing this and it was kind of a mess, so there we go. All right, so the basics of our sauce. 1/4 cup of milk with 1/2 teaspoon of cornstarch. 1 teaspoon of Dijon mustard or any mustard you like. And if you like a lot of mustard flavor in your potato salad, go ahead and add 2. It'll be fine. 1 teaspoon of sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Two tablespoons of brown sugar, or you can use white sugar, or you can skip it and it'll be fine. All right, so just stir this together and bring it to a boil. Oh, it smells so good. Now, usually we put vinegar in the sauce, but because I'm going to put vinegar in with the water that I cook the potatoes in, I'm not putting it in this sauce right now. But you could if you liked a lot of vinegar flavor, or you could skip it in the water. But I found that it gave the best flavor to the potatoes. All right. I've got some lumps here, so I'm going to switch over to my whisk. Now, if you don't have 2 pots, like I do, then certainly make your dressing in the nonstick pot and then just dump it out into a bowl and you can leave it on the counter until we're ready for it. But you want to make the dressing first so that your potatoes are hot when you add it, because that will really help incorporate all the flavors. Okay, So now I'm using 1 large egg that I just sort of whipped up a little bit. If you were worried about using a raw egg, we are going to temper it up to the temperature where it's considered safe. But you know, you might just be too worried about that. You know, and that's fine. You could skip it if you wanted, or you could use pasteurized egg from the grocery store. All right, so now we have come to a boil. It looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the pot off now. And this is not hot, okay? It wasn't on long enough, so it's fine. So what I'm gonna do is pour just about a teaspoon. This is tempering. So I'm gonna pour just about a teaspoon of the sauce into the eggs and whip them up. This is going to bring the temperature of the eggs closer to what the temperature is in the pot so they don't cook and scramble. Mix that up a little bit. If you're still boiling, let it cool down just a little bit because we do not want to scramble these eggs. And like I said, if you want to use pasteurized eggs from the grocery store, be my guest. It is about, because they'll be liquid, it is 50 mLs, a quarter cup is what you want. That's about 1 large egg. And then you can just whisk it in and not worry about cooking it at all. That looks pretty good. Make sure I'm not cooking it. Don't want it to cook, but it will thicken this sauce really nicely. Oh yeah. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Now, if you wanted, you could also put this back on low heat if you wanted to, and make sure that it comes up in temperature. All right, so I'm gonna add the rest of the egg in, and you can see I'm doing that into the sauce itself, not right in the center of the pan, because the center could be a little bit hotter. And again, I don't wanna cook these, I just want to temper them. So the idea is that you get the sauce up to a temperature of 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to do a temperature in just a minute. And that will kill any of the salmonella that could be present in the egg, but it does not set the egg. So it's a perfect temperature. So let's see where we are. We are at 140, so we are good to go. So that worked perfect. Now we're gonna make our potatoes, and this is so easy. All right, so just set this aside, or like I said, if you don't have two pots, then just pour it into a container and just set it to the side. But I'm just gonna go ahead and move this over here so that we can move on to doing the rest of our Amish potato salad. And of course, you know you can use this technique and make the potato salad with the seasonings that you like. That's no problem whatsoever. So you can certainly do the same technique that I'm about to do and add in whatever kind of dressing that you love. But this one's really good. All right, so let's go ahead and switch out. I'm gonna use the non-stick pot for this. It doesn't matter which one you use. If you have the stainless steel, you can use that. If you doesn't make no difference. All right, now let's talk about potatoes, okay? Because they're the base of potato salad. I use a combination of russet and Yukon Gold, and I use about equal amounts of both. So this is 2.5 pounds of potatoes total. You can double the recipe by doubling all the ingredients, but do not double the liquid amount, okay? Or you'll end up with really, really soupy potatoes that you have to drain. So you're gonna use the same amount of liquid even if you double the amount of potatoes, okay? All right, so it looks like I've got more russets just because they're smaller, but they are exactly the same. So I just put them on the scale and made sure that they were as close as I could get. All right, so for this potato salad, I don't peel the potatoes. You can, no problems, but I hate peeling potatoes. I absolutely hate it, so I don't do it. So I'm just gonna cut them up into bite-sized chunks. Start with this one. So I usually take it and then cut it in half like that. And then I go down the side here. Make 3 to 4, depending on how big the potato is. And then I just keep it in and I make my dices. All right, so these pieces are, I would say, maybe about an inch, maybe by an inch, by half of an inch. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, that's no problem. You don't want them too much bigger, they're not gonna cook in the cook time. We're only gonna do 1 minute of pressure cooking time. So we do want them to be like a bite-sized piece. The reason why I use 2 different kinds of potatoes, and you don't have to, it's totally just my option, my preference, is because the russets break down a little bit more, so they really help make the creamiest potato salad, while the Yukon Golds hold their shape more, so you've got like the 2 different textures, and I absolutely love that. So that's how I do it all the time. But it's up to you. You don't have to do that. If you don't want, you could use all russets and cut your pieces maybe a little bit bigger so they don't all fall apart. You'll end up with mashed potato salad, right? We don't want that. You do want to have some sort of a bite to your potato, but not, obviously don't want it firm. All right, so I'm just gonna cut the rest of these up, throw them in, and then we'll get our liquids in, and we'll get our eggs in, and we'll get to pressure cooking. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention real quick is don't put your liquid in before you put your potatoes in, because you don't want the potatoes sitting in the liquid until just before you're about to pressure cook. The reason is that it'll start to leach out some of the starch, and the water can become a little bit thicker, and then you can have trouble going under pressure. So make sure you put all your potatoes in, and then we'll add the liquid in. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is add in 1/2 of a cup of water, just plain water. So go ahead and add that in. And we are going to add in 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. You could use plain white vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar. You could skip it if you didn't want to add the vinegar. And you could just add another tablespoon of water. We're going to put that in. And then we are going to put in 1/4 cup of sweet pickle juice. Now, if you didn't want this to be sweet, like a sweet potato salad, which Amish potato salad usually is a little sweeter, but if you didn't like that, you could use dill pickle juice, that'd be fine. You could replace this with water. You could replace this with vinegar, however you want to do it. But this combination of flavors worked spectacularly, and I was so pleased with it. So if you wanted to use all water, you didn't want to use the vinegar and the pickle juice, you would use about, let's see, it would have been 1/2 of a cup, 3/4 of a cup, 3/4 of a cup plus about a tablespoon. And remember, even if you want to make more potatoes, do not increase the liquid amount, okay? Or you will end up with a lot of liquid that you'll have to drain out. And if you're using flavored liquids, you drain the flavor out too. Okay, one other thing that I found is that salting your potatoes right at this point does make a little difference. So I put about 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt just right over the top there. And we're gonna put our eggs in. Now, if you didn't wanna add eggs into your potato salad, you could skip this part, but I just throw them right on top. These are 3 large raw eggs, and we are going to cook them at the same time we cook the potatoes. It's easy peasy. This is the easiest potato salad I've ever made, really, except for cooking that sauce, which really wasn't a big deal. All right, go to the seal position in the back, turn the Ninja Foodi on, pressure cook, high is what we want. You wanna take it down to 1 minute. Now, it's gonna take a good 10 to 12 minutes for the pot to come up to pressure, so obviously we know that that is cook time. But this 1 minute pressure cook time followed by a 5-minute natural release resulted in perfectly cooked potatoes and perfectly cooked eggs. So don't worry, don't start saying, oh, but I always pressure cook my eggs for 5 minutes and do a 5-minute release. There's no way they're gonna be done. When you pressure cook eggs alone, you're using just the thin liquid. The time to pressure is quicker. So the 5 minutes of cook time is what you need. Or sometimes I do 4 minutes, but everybody has their own method, right? But for this, because there's more volume in the pot, it's gonna take longer for the pot to come up to pressure. So trust me on this one, the 1 minute pressure cook time is enough time, okay? And then 5 minute natural release, then we'll release the remaining pressure. All right, so we pressure cooked for 1 minute. We did a natural release for 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and manually release the remaining pressure. I forgot to time how long it took to come to pressure, but I'm gonna say it took a good 12 to 15 minutes, okay? All right, the pan has depressed, so we can go ahead and open up the lid. And you wanna do that away from you because it's going to be steamy. Oh, it looks like 2 of my eggs broke. That's unusual. That doesn't usually happen. No big deal, though. They're still going to be fine because I'm just going to cut them up. No big deal. Sometimes if you have hairline fractures in your eggs, that will happen. But again, no big deal. All right, so now let's just make sure that we don't have too much liquid in the bottom, which we do not. This worked out perfectly. And I want to make sure that the texture of our potatoes is how we want them. So I encourage you to do that just in case if you made yours a little bit bigger and they're not cooked all the way, you can always put them on sear saute for a little bit longer with maybe a little bit more water and get them cooked a little bit more. But these look perfect. Nope, they're perfect. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna get the sauce that we made a little bit earlier. I'm gonna get that out of this pot. Now you could do this a couple ways. You could dump the potatoes into here, or you could dump this into there. I'm gonna do it this way. So get all that good sauce out. Then we're gonna add in our mayonnaise. Then we're gonna get this in the refrigerator to chill. There is so much flavor in this sauce. I wanna make sure I get every bit of it. Oh, it smells so good. It's awesome. Okay, I didn't mention, but I had an ice bath here, so I threw those eggs into the ice bath so they'll stop cooking and cool down enough for me to be able to cut them up. I'm gonna put in 1 cup of mayonnaise. Put in the 8 sliced gherkins. You could dice them if you wanted. You could use sweet pickle relish, that would be fine. And we're gonna put in, this was 2 stalks of celery, so it's about 3/4 of a cup. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. It is so creamy. It is so delicious. I could honestly eat it warm. It's that good. All right, so let me go ahead and peel these eggs, chop them up. All right, there's a million ways to chop an egg, obviously. All right, I don't make it exact. It doesn't matter. I just chop it up roughly. All right, so the eggs are in now. Again, you could make 5 eggs if you wanted a little bit more eggs in your potato salad. So just use this as a guideline. So if you like a real eggy potato salad, hard boil a couple more. If you don't want eggs, don't add them in. All right, I am gonna go ahead and turn this off because we don't need that keep warm on. Oh, this looks amazing. It's going to be even better once it's chilled, but I am gonna take just a little bite here just to make sure that it doesn't need any salt or anything like that. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna cover this. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the refrigerator for at least 4 hours, but it's better if you do it overnight. So this is better if you make it the day before.
All right, so our potato salad's been chilling for about 4 hours, and now we are going to taste it. I'm so excited. I love potato salad. All right, you always want to stir after you have it in the refrigerator for a while and make sure you combine everything together. This is such a nice, creamy potato salad. I love the way it looks, and the textures are just amazing. So that's how it's gonna look in the pot. And I have never needed to add any more mayonnaise or something like that. You know, sometimes if it's in the refrigerator, when you get it back out, it's not really that saucy. You know, you need the potatoes have absorbed all of the mayonnaise and stuff, but that has not been the case with this recipe. I've been really, really pleased with it. All right, let's go ahead. I'm gonna move this over here, put my plate up here. Let's get to tasting. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, this is a Yukon Gold potato. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Texture, you know, it's absolutely perfect. And the flavor's amazing. So good. This is unbelievably good. I am so happy that I learned that Amish potato salad has a cooked dressing, because the difference is just amazing. Like, it's so delicious. I know you're gonna love this recipe, but if you have a favorite potato salad recipe that you love to use the same technique, the same liquid amounts, and put your spin on it, make it delicious, and make it yours.